Hello, my name is Nicole Peet, and this video series, Brainstorm, analyzes various topics in psychology. Psychology is defined as the scientific study of the human mind and behavior. While psychology is a popular subject, most are not aware of the many elements of this broad and fascinating field of study. Today's episode will focus on two early approaches to understanding the mind, structuralism and functionalism. Let's start off today by looking at structuralism. The debate over how to describe and explain the human mind and behavior began when psychology was first established as a science separate from biology and philosophy. Wilhelm Wundt, a German scientist, is one of the founding figures of modern psychology. In 1879, he established the first psychology lab, which focused on the school of thought known as structuralism. You may be wondering, what exactly is structuralism? Structuralism was the first major school of thought in psychology that focused on breaking down mental processes into the most primary components. A method known as introspection was used to understand the basic elements of consciousness. Introspection is the examination or observation of one's own mental and emotional processes. Wundt was able to discover a fundamental concept of psychology, the distinction between sensation and perception. Sensation is a stimulus's effect on one of our senses, while perception is our brain's interpretation of the stimulus. He conducted experiments in which he asked subjects to listen to a sound and then respond as soon as they heard it. He then asked the subjects to listen to a sound, respond when they heard it, and also say what sound they heard. He found that it took longer for subjects to say what sound they heard, which indicated that the processing and categorizing of sound took longer than the hearing of it. This showed that perception is a process that is separate but related to sensation. Even though the school of thought sounds pretty logical, there are several problems associated with it. One problem with structuralism was that the use of introspection led to a lack of reliability in results. As you have probably already guessed, people's descriptions of their own feelings and reactions are often wrong. Critics also argue that internal behavior is not directly observable and cannot be accurately measured. Although introspection was a valuable attempt to apply a scientific method to studies of the mind, it was decided that the experimental methods used to study the structures of the mind were too subjective. Now let's compare structuralism to its opponent, functionalism. As a counter to structuralism, a broad school of thought called functionalism originated. Functionalism was concerned more with the capability of the mind than with the process of thought. Functionalists like William James and James Roland Engel stressed the importance of empirical, rational thought over an experimental trial and error philosophy. Well, what is functionalism? Functionalism is a late 19th century to early 20th century American school of psychology that is especially concerned with how the mind functions to adapt the individual to the environment. It is a theory about the nature of mental states. Functionalism emphasized individual differences, which had a major impact on the education system. Even though functionalism never became a formal perspective school, it has served as a historical link in philosophical evolution. It connected the structuralist concerns with the anatomy of the human mind to the concentration on the functions of the mind. Functionalism was later linked to the development and growth of behaviorism. This episode of Brainstorm offers a brief introduction on the very first thoughts behind psychology. The next few episodes will broaden our understanding of the processes involved with the human mind. Thanks for joining us on today's episode of Structuralism versus Functionalism. I'm Nicole, and don't forget to tune in next time for another episode of Brainstorm.